पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्णा चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैता गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे रामा राम राम हरे हरे। गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। So we're going to start our reading from the 7th canto, 5th chapter, and the verse number is 7. And I'm going to put you all on the mute, but you do have the provision to unmute yourself. So we're just going to get started here. Hiranyakashipu advised his assistants, "My dear demons, give complete protection to this boy at the Gurukula, where he is instructed, so that his intelligence will not be further influenced by Vaishnavas who may go there in disguise." Purport. In our Krishna consciousness movement, the tactic of dressing oneself like an ordinary karmi is necessary because everyone in the demonic kingdom is against the Vaishnava teachings. Krishna consciousness is not at all to the liking of the demons of the present age. As soon as they see a Vaishnava dressed in saffron garments with beads on his neck and tilak on his forehead, they are immediately irritated. They criticize the Vaishnavas by sarcastically saying Hare Krishna, and some people also chant Hare Krishna sincerely. In either case, since Hare Krishna is absolute, whether one chants it jokingly or sincerely, it will have its effect. The Vaishnavas are pleased when the demons chant Hare Krishna because it shows that the Hare Krishna movement is taking ground. The greater demons like Hiranyakashipu are always prepared to chastise the Vaishnavas, and they try to make arrangements so that Vaishnava will not come to sell their books and preach Krishna consciousness. Thus, what was done by Hiranyakashipu long, long ago is still being done. That is the way of materialistic life. Demons or materialists do not at all like the advancements of Krishna consciousness, and they try to hinder it in many ways. Yet, the preachers of Krishna consciousness must go forward in their Vaishnava dress or any other dress for the purpose of preaching. Chanakya Pandit says that if an honest person deals with a great cheater, it is necessary for him to become a cheater also, not for the purpose of cheating, but to make his preaching successful. Text 8. When Hiranyakashipu's servants brought the boy Prahlad back to the Gurukula, the place where the Brahmanas taught the boys, the priests of the demons, Shand and Amarka, pacified him. With very mild voices and affectionate words, they inquired from him as follows. Purport. Shand and Amark, the priests of the demons, were eager to know from Prahlad Maharaj who the Vaishnavas were who came to instruct him in Krishna consciousness. The purpose was to discover the names of these Vaishnavas. In the beginning, they did not threaten the boy because when threatened, he might not identify the real culprits. Therefore, they very mildly and peacefully inquired as follows. Text 9. Dear son Prahlad, all peace.
Something keeps getting messed up. I don't know.
Oh, so tell me, is it on the screen or
It keeps getting, something's happening. Your sound is not.
You know what? I have a bad internet connection today.
In the sound,
Yeah.
there's gaps in the sound.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I don't want to say anything more. I'll just read.
Yeah. Dhyanidhi Prabhu, you might want to read from your book because I'm having a bad internet connection today at my home. And there's nothing working on my laptop other than just this.
Okay, no problem. I am reading from the book.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that.
Yep.
Yeah. So, dear son Prahlad, all peace and good fortune unto you. Kindly do not speak lies. Just reply with the truth. These boys you see are not like you, for they do not speak in a deviant way. How have you learned these instructions? How has your intelligence been spoiled in this way? Purport. Prahlad Maharaj was still a boy, and therefore his teachers thought that if they pacified the little boy, he would immediately speak the truth, revealing the secret of how the Vaishnavas came there to teach him lessons in devotional service. It was surprising, of course, that in the same school, the other boys of the Daityas were not polluted. Only Prahlad Maharaj was supposedly polluted by the instructions of the Vaishnavas. The main duty of the teachers was to inquire who those Vaishnavas were that came to teach Prahlad and spoil his intelligence. Text number 10, translation. And it might help for me to stop my video because I'm not sharing the video, it's just the text, might improve things a little bit. Text 10 again. O best of your family, has this pollution of your intelligence been brought about by you or by the enemies? We are all your teachers and are very eager to hear about this. Please tell us the truth. Purport. Prahlad Maharaj's teachers were astonished that a small boy could speak such exalted Vaishnava philosophy. Therefore, they inquired about the Vaishnavas who stealthily taught it to him, in order that these Vaishnavas might be arrested and killed in the presence of Prahlad's father, Hiranyakashipu. Text 11, translation. Prahlad Maharaj replied, "Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose external energy has created the distinctions of my friend and my enemy by deluding the intelligence of men. Indeed, I am now actually experiencing this, although I have previously heard it from authoritative sources." Purport. In the Bhagavad Gita 5.18, as stated in Bhagavad Gita 5.18, Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavihastini Shuni Chaiva Shvapakecha Panditaha Samadarshinaha. The humble sage, by virtue of true knowledge, sees with equal vision a learned and gentle Brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog-eater, outcasts. Panditaha, those who are actually learned, the equipoised, advanced devotees who have full knowledge of everything, do not see any living entity as an enemy or friend. Indeed, with broader vision, they see that everyone is part of Krishna, as confirmed by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Jivera Swarup Hoya Krishnera Nityadas. Every living entity, being part of the Supreme Lord, is meant to serve the Lord, just as every part of the body is meant to serve the whole body. As servants of the Supreme Lord, all entities are one, but a Vaishnava, because of his natural humility, addresses other living entity as Prabhu. A Vaishnava sees other servants to be so advanced that he has much to learn from them. Thus, he accepts all other devotees of the Lord as Prabhus or masters. Although everyone is a servant of the Lord, one Vaishnava servant, because of humility, sees another servant as his master. Understanding of the master begins from understanding of the spiritual master. Yasya prasadat bhagavat prasado, yasya prasadan nagati kutopi. By the mercy of the spiritual master, one receives the benediction of Krishna. Without the grace of the spiritual master, one cannot make any advancement. Sakshathari tvena samasta shaster uktastatha bhavyetaev satvi kintu prabhuyaha priyaevutasya vande guru shri charnarvindam. The Supreme Master is to be honored as much as the Supreme Lord, because he is the most confidential servitor of the Lord. This is acknowledged in all revealed scriptures and followed by all authorities. Therefore, I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual master, who is a bona fide representative of Sri Hari, Krishna. The spiritual master, the servant of God, is engaged in the most confidential service of the Lord, namely, delivering all the conditioned souls from the clutches of Maya, in which one thinks, this person is my enemy and that one is my friend. Actually, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the friend of all living entities, and all living entities are eternal servants of the Supreme Lord. Oneness is possible through this understanding, not through artificially thinking that every one of us is God or equal to God. The true understanding is that God is the Supreme Master and that all of us are servants of the Supreme Lord and are therefore on the same platform. This had already been taught to Prahlad Maharaj by his spiritual master Narada, but Prahlad was nonetheless surprised by how a bewildered soul thinks one person is enemy and another his friend. As long as one adheres to the philosophy of duality, thinking one person a friend and another an enemy, he should be understood to be in the clutches of Maya. The Mayavadi philosopher who thinks that all living entities are God and are therefore one is also mistaken. No one is equal to God. The servant cannot be equal to the master. According to the Vaishnava philosophy, the master is one and the servants are also one. But the distinction between the master and servant must continue even in the liberated stage. In the conditioned stage, we think that some living beings are our friends, whereas others are enemies, and thus we are in duality. In the liberated state, however, the conception is that God is the master and all living entities, being servants of God, are one. Text 12, translation. When the Supreme Personality of Godhead is pleased with the living entity because of his devotional service, one becomes a Pandita and does not make distinctions between enemies, friends, and himself. Intelligently, he then thinks, every one of us is an eternal servant of God, and therefore we are not different from one another. Purport. When Prahlad Maharaj's teachers and demoniac father asked him how his intelligence had been polluted, Prahlad Maharaj said, as far as I am concerned, my intelligence has not been polluted. Rather, by the grace of my spiritual master and by the grace of my Lord Krishna, I have now learned that no one is my enemy and no one is my friend. We are all actually eternal servants of Krishna, but under the influence of the external energy, we think that we are separately situated from the Supreme Personality of Godhead as friends and enemies of one another. This mistaken idea has now been corrected, and therefore, unlike ordinary human beings, I no longer think that I am God and that others are my friends and enemies. Now I am rightly thinking that everyone is an eternal servant of God and that our duty is to serve the Supreme Master. For then we shall stand on the platform of oneness as servants. Demons think of everyone as a friend or enemy. But Vaishnavas say that since everyone is a servant of the Lord, everyone is on the same platform. Therefore, a Vaishnava treats other living entities neither as friends nor as enemies, but instead tries to spread Krishna consciousness, teaching everyone that we are all one as servants of the Supreme Lord, but are uselessly wasting our valuable lives by creating nations, communities, and other groups of friends and enemies. Everyone should come to the platform of Krishna consciousness and thus feel oneness as a servant of the Lord. Although there are 8,400,000 species of life, a Vaishnava feels this oneness. The Ishopanishad advises, Ekatvam Anupashyataha. A devotee should see the Supreme Personality of Godhead to be situated in everyone's heart and should also see every living entity as an eternal servant of the Lord. This vision is called Ekatvam, oneness. Although there is a relationship of master and servant, both master and servant are one because of their spiritual identity. This is also Ekatvam. Thus, the conception of Ekatvam for the Vaishnava is different from that of the Mayavadi. Hiranyakashipu asked Prahlad Maharaj how he had become antagonistic to his family. When a family member is killed by an enemy, all the members of the family would naturally be inimical to the murderer. But Hiranyakashipu saw that Prahlad had become friendly with the murderer. Therefore, he asked, who has created this kind of intelligence in you? Have you developed this consciousness by yourself? Since you are a small boy, someone must have induced you to think this way. Prahlad Maharaj wanted to reply that an attitude favorable towards Vishnu can develop only when the Lord is favorable. Sa yadanu vrataha. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is the friend of everyone. Suhridam sarva bhutanam yatma man shantim richati. The Lord is never an enemy to any of the millions of living entities, but is always a friend to everyone. This is true understanding. If one thinks that the Lord is an enemy, his intelligence is Pashu Buddhi, the intelligence of an animal. He falsely thinks, I am different from my enemy and my enemy is different from me. The enemy has done this and therefore my duty is to kill him. This misconception is described in this verse as Bedha Gata Sati. Bedha Gata Sati. The actual fact is that everyone is a servant of the Lord, as confirmed in Chaitanya Charitamrita by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Jivera Swarupoya, Krishnera Nitya Dasha. As servants of the Lord, we are one, and there can be no questions of enmity or friendship. If one actually understands that one of us is a servant of the Lord, where is the question of enemy or friend? Everyone should be friendly for the service of the Lord. Everyone should praise another's service to the Lord and not be proud of his own service. This is the way of Vaishnava thinking, Vaikuntha thinking. There may be rivalries and apparent competition between servants in performing service, but in the Vaikuntha planets, the service of another servant is appreciated, not condemned. This is Vaikuntha competition. There is no question of enmity between servants. Everyone should be allowed to render service to the Lord to the best of his ability, and everyone should appreciate the service of others. Such are the activities of Vaikuntha. Since everyone is a servant, everyone is on the same platform and is allowed to serve the Lord according to his ability. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 15.15, Sarvasya chaham hidi sannivishto matta smritir jnanam apohanam cha. The Lord is situated in everyone's heart, giving dictation according to the attitude of the servant. However, the Lord gives different dictation to the non-devotees and devotees. The non-devotees challenge the authority of the Supreme Lord, and therefore the Lord dictates in such a way that the non-devotee forget the Lord's service life after life and are punished by the laws of nature. But when a devotee very seriously wants to render service to the Lord dictates in a different way. As the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 10:10, Tesham satata yuktanam bhajitam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upiyanti te. To those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. Everyone is actually a servant, not an enemy or friend. And everyone is working under different directions from the Lord, who directs each living entity according to his mentality. Text 13. Persons who always think in terms of enemy and friend are unable to ascertain the super soul within themselves. Not to speak of them, even such exalted persons as Lord Brahma, who are fully conversant with the Vedic literature, are sometimes bewildered in following the principles of devotional service. The same Supreme Personality of Godhead who has created this situation has certainly given me the intelligence to take side of your so-called enemy. Prahlad Maharaj admitted frankly, my dear teachers, you wrongly think that Lord Vishnu is your enemy, but because he is favorable toward me, I understand that he's a friend of everyone. You may think that I have taken the side of your enemy, but factually he has bestowed a great favor upon me. Text 14. O Brahmanas, teachers, as iron attracted by a magnetic stone moves automatically towards the magnet, my consciousness, having been changed by his will, is attracted by Lord Vishnu, who carries a disc in his hand. Thus, I have no independence. For an iron to be attracted by a magnet is natural. Similarly, for all living entities to be attracted toward Krishna is natural, and therefore the Lord's real name is Krishna, meaning he who attracts everyone and everything. The typical examples of such attraction are found in Vrindavana, where everything and everyone is attracted by Krishna. The elderly persons like Nand Maharaj and Yashoda Devi, the friends like Sridama, Sudama, and other cowherd boys, the gopis like Srimati Radharani and her associates, and even the birds, beasts, cows, and calves are attracted. The flowers and fruits in the garden are attractive, the waves of the Yamuna are attractive, and the land, sky, trees, plants, animals, and all other living beings are attracted by Krishna. This is the natural situation of everything in Vrindavana. Just contrary to the affairs of Vrindavan is the material world, where no one is attracted by Krishna and everyone is attracted by Maya. This is the difference between the spiritual and material worlds. Hiranyakashipu, who was in the material world, was attracted by women and money, whereas Prahlad Maharaj, being in his natural position, was attracted by Krishna. In replying to Hiranyakashipu's question about why Prahlad Maharaj had a deviant view, Prahlad said that his view was not deviant, for the natural position of everyone is to be attracted by Krishna. Hiranyakashipu found this view deviant. Prahlad said because of being unnaturally attracted by Krishna. Hiranyakashipu therefore needed purification. As soon as one is purified by material contamination, he is again attracted by Krishna. Sarvopadi vinirmuktam tat paratvena nirmalam. In the material world, everyone is contaminated by the dirt of sense gratification and is acting according to different designations. Sometimes as a human being, sometimes a beast, sometimes a demigod or tree, and so on. One must be cleansed of all these designations. Then one must be naturally attracted to Krishna. The bhakti process purifies a living entity of all unnatural attractions. When one is purified, he is attracted by Krishna and begins to serve Krishna instead of serving Maya. This is his natural position. The devotee is attracted by Krishna, whereas a non-devotee, being contaminated by the dirt of material association, by the dirt of material enjoyment, is not. This is confirmed by the Lord in Bhagavad Gita 7:28. Yesham tuantagatam papam jananam punya karmanam te dvandamoha nirmukta bhajante mam dridhavritaha. Persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life, whose sinful actions are completely eradicated and who are freed from the duality of delusion, engage themselves in my service with determination. One must be freed from all sinful dirt of material existence, even in this material world. Everyone in this material world is contaminated by material desire. Unless one is free from all material desire, anyabhashita shunyam, one cannot be attracted by Krishna. O great sage Narad, the great saint Narad Muni continued. The great soul Prahlad Maharaj became silent after saying this to his teachers Shanda and Amarka, the seminal sons of Shukracharya. These so-called Brahmanas then became angry at him. Because they were servants of Hiranyakashipu, they were very sorry, and to chastise Prahlad Maharaj, they spoke as follows. Purport. The word Shukra means semen. The sons of Shukracharya were Brahmanas by birthright, but an actual Brahmana is one who possesses the Brahminical qualities. The Brahmanas, Shanda and Amarka, being seminal sons of Shukracharya, did not actually possess real Brahminical qualifications, for they engaged as servants of Hiranyakashipu. An actual Brahmana is very much satisfied to see anyone, not to speak of his disciple, become a devotee of Lord Krishna. Such Brahmanas are meant to satisfy the Supreme Master. A Brahmana is strictly prohibited from becoming a servant of anyone else, for that is the business of dogs and Shudras. A dog must satisfy his master, but a Brahmana does not have to satisfy anyone. He is simply meant to satisfy Krishna. Anukulyena Krishnanushilanam. That is the real qualification of a Brahmana. Because Shanda and Amarka were seminal Brahmanas and had become servants of such a master as Hiranyakashipu, they unnecessarily wanted to chastise Prahlad Maharaj. Text 16. Oh, please bring me a stick. This Prahlad is damaging our name and fame. Because of his bad intelligence, he has become like a cinder in the dynasty of the demons. Now he needs to be treated by the fourth of the four kinds of political diplomacy. Purport. In political affairs, when a person disobediently agitates against the government, four principles are used to suppress him: legal orders, pacification, the offer of a post, or finally weapons. When there are no other arguments, he is punished. In logic, this is called argumentum ad baculum. When the two seminal Brahmanas, Shanda and Amarka, failed to extract from Prahlad Maharaj the cause for his having opinions different from those of his father, they called for a stick with which to chastise him to satisfy their master, Hiranyakashipu. Because Prahlad had become a devotee, they considered him to be contaminated by bad intelligence and to be the worst descendant in the family of demons. It is said that where ignorance is bliss, it is a folly to be wise. In a society or family in which everyone is a demon, for someone to become a Vaishnava is certainly folly. Thus, Prahlad Maharaj was charged with bad intelligence because he was among demons, including his teachers who were supposedly Brahmanas. The members of our Krishna consciousness movement are in a position similar to that of Prahlad Maharaj. All over the world, 99% of the people are godless demons, and therefore our preaching of Krishna consciousness, following in the footsteps of Prahlad Maharaj, is always hampered by many impediments. Because of their fault of being devotees, the American boys who have sacrificed everything for preaching Krishna consciousness are charged with being members of the CIA. Moreover, the seminal Brahmanas in India who say that one can become a Brahmana only if born in a Brahmana family charge us with ruining the Hindu system of religion. Of course, the fact is that one becomes a Brahmana by qualification. Because we are training Europeans and Americans to become qualified and are awarding them Brahminical status, we are being charged with destroying the Hindu religion. Nonetheless, confronting all kinds of difficulties, we must spread the Krishna consciousness movement with great determination like that of Prahlad Maharaj. In spite of being the son of demon Hiranyakashipu, Prahlad never feared the chastisements of the seminal Brahmana sense of his demoniac father, of a demoniac father. Text 17. This rascal Prahlad has appeared like a thorn tree in a forest of sandalwood. To cut down sandalwood trees, an axe is needed, and the wood of the thorn tree is very suitable for the handle of an axe. Lord Vishnu is the axe for cutting down the sandalwood forest of the family of demons, and this Prahlad is the handle for that axe. Purport. Thorn trees generally go in deserted places, not in sandalwood forest, but the seminal Brahmanas Shanda and Amarka compared the dynasty of the Daitya Hiranyakashipu to a sandalwood forest and compared Prahlad Maharaj to a hard, strong thorn tree that could provide a handle of an axe. They compared Lord Vishnu to the axe itself. An axe alone cannot cut a thorn tree. It needs a handle, which may be made of wood of a thorn tree. Thus, the thorn tree of demoniac civilization can be cut to pieces by the axe of Vishnu Bhakti, devotional service to Lord Krishna. Some of the members of the demoniac civilization, like Prahlad Maharaj, may become the handle for the axe to assist Lord Vishnu, and thus the entire forest of demoniac civilization may be cut into pieces. Text 18. Shanda and Amarka, the teachers of Prahlad Maharaj, chastised and threatened their disciple in various ways and began teaching him about the paths of religion, economic development, and sense gratification. This is the way they educated him. Purport. In this verse, the words Praharadam, Grahayam, Asha are important. The word Grahayam Asha literally means that they try to induce Prahlad Maharaj to accept the paths of Dharma, Artha, and Kama, religion, economic development, and sense gratification. People are generally preoccupied with these three concerns without interest in the path of liberation. Hiranyakashipu, the father of Prahlad Maharaj, was simply interested in gold and sense enjoyment. The word Hiranya means gold, and Kashipu refers to soft cushions and beddings on which people enjoy sense gratification. The word Prahlad often refers to one who is always joyful in understanding Brahman. Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma. Prahlad means Prasannatma, always joyful. Prahlad was always joyful in worshipping the Lord, but in accordance with the instructions of Hiranyakashipu, the teachers were interested in teaching him about material things. Materialistic persons think that the path of religion is meant for improving their material conditions. The materialist goes to a temple to worship many varieties of demigods just to receive some benediction to improve his material life. He goes to a sadhu or a so-called swami to take advantage of an easy method for achieving material opulence. In the name of religion, the so-called sadhus try to satisfy the senses of the materialists by showing them shortcuts to material opulence. Sometimes they give some talisman or blessing. Sometimes they attract materialistic persons by producing gold. Then they declare themselves God, and foolish materialists are attracted to them for economic development. As a result of this process of cheating, others are reluctant to advise a religious process, and instead they advise people in general to work for material advancement. This is going on all over the world, not only now, but since time immemorial. No one is interested in moksha or liberation. There are four principles: dharma, religion, artha, economic development, kama, sense gratification, and moksha, liberation. People accept religion to become materially opulent. And why should one be materially opulent? For sense gratification. Thus, people prefer these three margas, the three paths of materialistic life. No one is interested in liberation, and Bhagavad Bhakti, devotional service to the Lord, is above even liberation. Therefore, the process of devotional service to Krishna consciousness is extremely difficult to understand. This will be explained later by Prahlad Maharaj. The teachers Shand and Amarka tried to induce Prahlad Maharaj to accept the materialistic way of life, but actually the attempt was a failure. Text 19. After some time, the teachers Shand and Amarka thought that Prahlad Maharaj was sufficiently educated in the diplomatic affairs of pacifying public leaders, appeasing him by giving him lucrative posts, dividing and ruling over them, and punishing them in cases of disobedience. Then, one day, after Prahlad's mother had personally washed the boy and dressed him nicely with sufficient ornaments, they presented him before his father. Purport. It is essential for a student who is going to be a ruler or king to learn the four diplomatic principles. There is always rivalry between a king and his citizens. Therefore, when a citizen agitates the public against the king, the duty of the king is to call him and try to pacify him with sweet words, saying, "You are very important in the state. Why should you disturb the public with some new causes for agitation?" If the citizen is not pacified, the king should then offer him some lucrative post as governor or minister, any post that draws a high salary, so that he may be agreeable. If an enemy goes on agitating the public, the king would then try to create dissension in the enemy's camp. But if he still continues, the king should employ argumentum ad basilinum, severe punishment by putting him in jail or placing him before a firing squad. The teachers appointed by Hiranyakashipu taught Prahlad Maharaj how to be a diplomat so that he could rule over the citizens very nicely. When Hiranyakashipu saw that his child had fallen at his feet and was offering obeisances, as an affectionate father, he immediately began showering blessings upon the child and embraced him with both arms. A father naturally feels happy to embrace his son, and Hiranyakashipu became very happy with this. Text 21, translation. Narada Muni continued, "My dear King Yudhishthira, Hiranyakashipu seated Prahlad Maharaj on his lap and began smelling his head. With affectionate tears gliding down from the eyes and moistening the child's smiling face, he spoke to his son as follows." Purport. If a child or disciple falls at the feet of the spiritual master, father or spiritual master, the superior responds by smelling the head of the subordinate. Text 22. Hiranyakashipu said, "My dear Prahlad, my dear son, O long-lived one, for so much time you have heard many things from your teachers. Now please repeat it to me, whatever you think is the best of that knowledge." Purport. In this verse, Hiranyakashipu inquires from his son what he has learned from his guru. Prahlad Maharaj's guru were of two kinds, Shanda and Amarka, the sons of Shukracharya, in the seminal disciplic succession, whereas the guru appointed by his father by his other guru was exalted Narad Muni, who had instructed Prahlad when Prahlad was within the womb of his mother. Prahlad Maharaj responded to the inquiry of his father with the instructions he had received from his spiritual master Narada. Thus, there was again a difference of opinion because Prahlad Maharaj wanted to relate the best thing he had learned from his spiritual master Narad Muni. Whereas Hiranyakashipu expected to hear about the politics and diplomacy Prahlad had learned from Shanda and Amarka. Now the dissension between the father and son became increasingly intense as Prahlad Maharaj began to say what he had learned from his guru, Narada Muni. Text 20, 23 and 24, and this is the very famous verse. Prahlad Maharaj said, hearing and chanting, Chavanam Kirtanam Vishnu, hearing and chanting about the transcendental holy name, form, qualities, paraphernalia, and pastimes of Lord Vishnu, remembering him, serving the lotus feet of the Lord, offering the Lord respectful worship with 16 types of paraphernalia, offering prayers to the Lord, becoming his servant, considering the Lord one's best friend, and surrendering everything to him. In other words, serving him with the body, mind, and words. These 9 processes are accepted as pure devotional service. One who has dedicated his life to the service of Krishna through these 9 methods should be understood to be the most learned person, for he has acquired complete knowledge. Purport. When Prahlad Maharaj was asked by his father to say something from whatever he had learned, he considered that what he had learned from his spiritual master was the best of all teachings, whereas what he had learned about diplomacy from his material teacher Shandan Amarka was useless. Bhakti pareshanubhava viraktir anyatra cha. Bhagavatam 11:242. This is a symptom of pure devotional service. A pure devotee is interested only in devotional service, not in material affairs. To execute devotional service, one should always engage in hearing and chanting about Krishna or Lord Vishnu. The process of temple worship is called archana. How to perform archana will be explained herein. One should have complete faith in the words of Krishna, who says that he is the great well-wishing friend of everyone. Sruhdam Sarvabhutana. Complete faith in the words of Krishna, who says that he is the great well-wishing friend of everyone. Suhridam Sarvabhutana. A devotee considered Krishna the only friend. This is called Sakhyam. Pumsar Pita Vishnu. The word Pumsa means by all living entities. There are no distinctions between permitting only a man or only a Brahmana to offer devotional service to the Lord. Everyone can do so. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 9:32, Striyo Vaishyas Tatha Shudras Tepi Yanti Param Gatim. Although women, Vaishyas, and Shudras are considered less intelligent, they also can become devotees and return back home, back to Godhead. After performing sacrifices, sometimes a person engaged in fruitive activity customarily offers the results to Vishnu. But here it is said, Bhagavatyadha, one must directly offer everything to Vishnu. This is called sannyasa, not merely nyasa. The Tridandi sannyasi carries three dandas signifying kaya, mano, and vakya, body, mind, and words. All these should be offered to Vishnu, and then one can begin devotional service. Fruitive workers first perform some pious activities and then formally or officially offer the results to Vishnu. The real devotee, however, first offers his surrender to Krishna with his body, mind, and words, and then uses his body, mind, and words for the service of Krishna as Krishna desires. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakura gives the following explanation in the Tathya. The word Shravana refers to giving oral reception to the holy name and descriptions of the Lord's form, qualities, entourage, and pastimes as explained in Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and similar authorized scriptures. After orally receiving these messages, one should memorize these vibrations and repeat them, kirtanam. Smaranam means trying to understand more and more about the Supreme Lord, and Padasevanam means engaging oneself in serving the lotus feet of the Lord according to the time and circumstances. Archanam means worshipping Lord Vishnu as one does in the temple, and Vandanam means offering respectful obeisances. Manmana bhava madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. Vandanam means namaskuru, offering obeisances or offering prayers. Thinking oneself to be Nitya Krishna Das, everlastingly a servant of Krishna, is called Dasyam, and Sakhyam means being a well-wisher of Krishna. Krishna wants everyone to surrender unto him because everyone is constitutionally his servant. Therefore, as a sincere friend of Krishna, one should preach this philosophy, requesting everyone to surrender unto Krishna. Atma Nivedanam means offering Krishna everything, including one's body, mind, intelligence, and whatever one may possess. One's sincere endeavor to perform these 9 processes of devotional service is technically called bhakti. The word adha means directly. One should not be like the karmis who perform pious activities and then formally offer the results to Krishna. That is karma kanda. One should not aspire for the results of his pious activities, but should dedicate oneself fully and then act piously. In other words, one should act for the satisfaction of Vishnu, not for the satisfaction of his own senses. That is the meaning of the word adha, directly. Anyabhashita shunyam, jnana karmadhyanavritam, anukulyena krishnanu, shilanam bhaktiruttama. One should render transcendental loving service to the Supreme Lord Krishna favorably and without desire for material profit or gain through fruitive activities or philosophical speculation. That is called pure devotional service. One should simply satisfy Krishna without being influenced by fruitive knowledge or fruitive activity. The Gopal Tapani Upanishad says that the word bhakti means engagement in the devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, not of anyone else. This Upanishad describes that bhakti
is the offering of devotional service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. To perform devotional service, one should be relieved of the bodily conception of life and aspirations to be happy through elevation to the higher planetary systems. In other words, work performed simply for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord without any desire for material benefits is called bhakti. Bhakti is also called nishkarma, or freedom from the results of fruitive activity. Bhakti and nishkarma are on the same platform, although devotional service and fruitive activity appear almost the same. The 9 different processes enunciated by Prahlad Maharaj, who learned them from Narad Muni, may not all be required for the execution of devotional service. If a devotee performs only one of these 9 without deviation, he can attain the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sometimes it is found that when one performs one of the processes, other processes are mixed with it. This is not improper for a devotee. When a devotee executes any one of the 9 processes, Navalakshana, this is sufficient. The other 8 processes are included. Now, let us discuss these 9 different processes. Number 1, Shravanam. Hearing of the holy name of the Lord. Shravanam is the beginning of devotional service. Although one of the 9 processes is sufficient, in chronological order, the hearing of the holy name of the Lord is the beginning. Indeed, it is essential. As enunciated by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Cheto Darpana Marjanam. By chanting the holy name of the Lord, one is cleansed of the material conception of life, which is due to the dirty modes of material nature. When the dirt is cleansed from the core of one's heart, one can realize the form of Supreme Personality of Godhead, Ishvara, Parma, Krishna, Satchidananda Vigraha. Thus, by hearing the holy name of the Lord, one comes to the platform of understanding the personal form of the Lord. After realizing the Lord's form, one can realize the transcendental qualities of the Lord. And when one can understand his transcendental qualities, one can understand the Lord's associates. In this way, a devotee advances further and further towards complete understanding of the Lord as he awakens in realization of the Lord's holy name, transcendental form and qualities, his paraphernalia, and everything pertaining to him. Therefore, the chronological process is Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu. This same process of chronological understanding holds true in chanting and remembering. When the chanting of the holy name, form, qualities, and paraphernalia is heard from the mouth of a pure devotee, his hearing and chanting are very pleasing. Srila Sanatana Goswami has forbidden us to hear the chanting of an artificial devotee or a non-devotee. Hearing from the text of Srimad Bhagavatam is considered the most important process of hearing. Srimad Bhagavatam is full of transcendental chanting of the holy name, and therefore the chanting and hearing of Srimad Bhagavatam are transcendentally full of mellows. The transcendental holy name of the Lord may be heard and chanted accordingly to the attraction of the devotee. One may chant the holy name of Lord Krishna, or one may chant the holy name of Lord Rama or Nrsimhadev. Rama di murti shukala niyamena tishthan. The Lord has innumerable forms and names, and devotees may meditate upon a particular form and chant the holy name according to his attraction. Best course is to hear of the holy name, form, and so on from a pure devotee of the same standard as oneself. In other words, one who is attached to Krishna should chant and hear from other pure devotees who are also attached to Lord Krishna. The same principle applies to devotees attracted by Lord Ram, Lord Nrsimha, and other forms of the Lord. Because Krishna is the ultimate form of the Lord, Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam, it is better to hear about Krishna's name, form, and pastimes from a realized devotee who is particularly attracted by the form of Lord Krishna. In Srimad Bhagavatam, great devotees like Shukdev Goswami have specially described Lord Krishna's holy name, forms, and qualities. Unless one hears about the holy name, form, and qualities of the Lord, one cannot understand the other processes of devotional service. Therefore, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recommends that one chant the holy name of Krishna. Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. If one is fortunate enough to hear from the mouth of realized devotees, he is very easily successful on the path of devotional service. Therefore, hearing of the holy name, form, and qualities of the Lord is essential. In Srimad Bhagavatam 1.5.11, there is this verse,
Tadvaga visargo janataga viplavo yasmin pratishlokam abhadatya atpati api namanyanantasya yashoni kanti yat shrinvanti gayanti ghinanti sadhavaha. Verses describing the name, form, and qualities of Anantadeva, the unlimited Supreme Lord, are able to vanquish all the sinful reactions of the entire world. Therefore, even if such verses are improperly composed, devotees hear them, describe them, and accept them as bona fide and authorized. In this connection, Sridhar Swami has remarked that a pure devotee takes advantage of another pure devotee by trying to hear from him about the holy name, form, and qualities of the Lord. If there is no such opportunity, he alone chants and hears the Lord's holy name. Kirtanam. The hearing of the holy name has been described above. Now, let us try to understand the chanting of the holy name, which is the second item in the consecutive order. It is recommended that such chanting be performed very loudly. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Narad Muni says that without shame he began traveling all over the world, chanting the holy name of the Lord. Similarly, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has advised, Trinadapi Shunichena Tarorapi Sahasnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari. A devotee can very peacefully chant the holy names of the Lord by behaving more humbly than the grass, being tolerant like a tree, and offering respects to everyone, without expecting honor from anyone else. Such qualifications make it easier to chant the holy name of the Lord. The process of transcendental chanting can be easily performed by anyone. Even if one is physically unfit, classified lower than others, devoid of material qualifications, or not at all elevated in terms of pious activities, the chanting of the holy name is beneficial. An aristocratic birth and advanced education, beautiful bodily features, wealth, and similar results of pious activities are all unnecessary for advancement in spiritual life, for one can very easily advance simply by chanting the holy name. It is understood from an authoritative source of Vedic literature that, especially in this age, Kali Yuga, people are generally short lived, extremely bad in their habits, and inclined to accept methods of devotional service that are not bona fide. Moreover, they are always disturbed by material conditions and they are mostly unfortunate. Under the circumstances, the performance of other processes such as yagya, dana, tapa, and kriya, sacrifices, charity, and so on, are not at all possible. Therefore, it is recommended Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Namaiva Kevalam, Kalau Nastyeva, 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 Gathir Anyatha. In this age of quarrel and hypocrisy, the only means of deliverance is the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. There is no other way, there is no other way, there is no other way. Simply by chanting the holy name of the Lord, one advances perfectly in spiritual life. This is the best process for success in life. In other words, the chanting of the holy name is equally powerful. But especially in this age, Kali Yuga, it is most powerful. Kirtanad eva Krishnasya mukta sangha param vrajet. Simply by chanting the holy name of Krishna, one is liberated and returns home back to Godhead. Therefore, even if one is able to perform other processes of devotional service, one must adopt the chanting of the holy name as the principal method of advancing in spiritual life. Yagne sankirtana praye jajanti hi sumedhasaha. Those who are very sharp in their intelligence should adopt this process of chanting the holy names of the Lord. One should not, however, manufacture different types of chanting. One should adhere seriously to the chanting of the holy name as recommended in the scriptures. Hare Krishna, everybody. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,
Rama
Hare
Rama,
Hare.
Hare Hare.
While chanting the holy name of the Lord, one should be careful to avoid 10 offenses. From Sanat Kumar, it is to be understood that even if a person is a severe offender in many ways, he is freed from offensive life if he takes shelter of the Lord's holy name. Indeed, even if a human being is no better than a two-legged animal, he will be liberated if he takes shelter of the holy name of the Lord. One should therefore be very careful not to commit offenses at the lotus feet of the Lord's holy name. The offenses are described as follows. A, to blaspheme a devotee, especially a devotee engaged in broadcasting the glories of the holy name. B, to consider the name of Lord Shiva or any other demigod to be equally as powerful as the holy name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
No one is equal to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, nor is anyone superior to him. C. To disobey the instructions of the spiritual master. D. To blaspheme the Vedic literatures and literatures compiled in pursuance of the Vedic literatures. E. To comment that the glories of the holy name of the Lord are exaggerated. F. To interpret the holy name in a deviant way. G. To commit sinful activities on the strength of chanting the holy name. H. To compare the chanting of the holy name to pious activities. I. To instruct the glories of the holy name to a person who has no understanding of the chanting of the holy name. J. To awaken in transcendental attachment for the not to awaken in transcendental attachment for the chanting of the holy name, even after hearing all these scriptural injunctions. There is no way to atone for any of these offenses. It is therefore recommended that an offender at the feet of the holy name continue to chant the holy name 24 hours a day. Constant chanting of the holy name will make one free of offenses, and thus he will gradually be elevated to the transcendental platform on which he can chant the pure holy name and thus become a lover of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is recommended that even if one commits offenses, one should continue chanting the holy name. In other words, the chanting of the holy name makes one offenseless. In the book Nama Kaumudi, it is recommended that if one is an offender at the lotus feet of a Vaishnava, he should submit to that Vaishnava and be excused. Similarly, if one is an offender in the chanting the holy name, he should submit to the holy name and thus be freed from his offenses. In this condition here, there's the following statement spoken by Daksha to Lord Shiva. I did not know the glories of your personality, and therefore I committed an offense at your lotus feet in the open assembly. You are so kind, however, that you did not accept my offense. Instead, when I was falling down because of accusing you, you saved me by your merciful glance. You are most great. Kindly excuse me and be satisfied with your own exalted qualities. One should be very humble and meek to offer one's desires and chant prayers composed in glorification of the holy name, such as Aimukta Kulere Upasyamanam and Nirvittatasir Upagiyamanat. One should chant such prayers to become free from offenses at the lotus feet of the holy name. 3. Smaranam. After one regularly performs the process of hearing and chanting, and after the core of one's heart is cleansed, Smaranam, remembering, is recommended. In Srimad Bhagavatam 2.1.12, Sukdev Goswami tells King Parikshit, Etan nirvidyamananam ichchatam akuto bhayam yoginam nipunirnitam harenamanu. O king, for great yogis who have completely renounced all material connections, for those who desire all material enjoyment, and for those who are self-satisfied by dint of transcendental knowledge, constant chanting of the holy name of the Lord is recommended. According to different relationships with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there are varieties of Namanukirtanam, chanting of the holy name, and thus according to the different relationships and mellows, there are 5 kinds of remembering. These are as follows. A. Conducting research into the worship of a particular form of the Lord. B. Concentrating the mind on one subject and withdrawing the mind's activity of thinking, feeling, and willing from all other objects. C. Concentrating upon a particular form of the Lord. This is called meditation. Concentrating one's mind continuously on the form of the Lord. This is called Dhruvanusmriti, or perfect meditation. And E. Awakening a liking for concentration upon a particular form. This is called Samadhi, or trance. Mental concentration upon particular pastimes of the Lord in particular circumstances is also called remembrance. Therefore, Samadhi, trance, can be possible in 5 different ways in terms of one's relationship. Specifically, the trance of devotees on the stage of neutrality is called mental concentration. Number 4, Pada Sevanam. According to one's taste and strength, hearing, chanting, and remembrance may be followed by Pada Sevanam. One obtains the perfection of remembering when one constantly thinks of the lotus feet of the Lord. Being intensely attached to thinking of the Lord's lotus feet is called Pada Sevanam.
When one is particularly adherent to the process of Padasevanam, this process gradually includes other processes such as seeing the form of the Lord, touching the form of the Lord, circumambulating the form or temple of the Lord, visiting such places as Jagannath Puri, Dwarka, and Mathura to see the Lord's form, and bathing in the Ganges or Yamuna. Bathing in the Ganges and serving a pure Vaishnava are also known as Tadiya Upasanam. This is also Padasevanam. The word Tadiya means in relationship with the Lord. Service to the Vaishnava, Tulasi, Ganges, and Yamuna are included in Padasevanam. All these processes of Padasevanam help one advance in spiritual life very quickly. Number 5, Archanam. After Padasevanam comes the process of Archanam, worship of the deity. If one is interested in the process of Archanam, one must positively take shelter of a bona fide spiritual master and learn the process from him. There are many books for Archana, especially Narad Pancharatra. In this age, the Pancharatra system is particularly recommended for Archana, deity worship. There are two systems of Archana, the Bhagavad system and Pancharatriki system. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, there is no recommendation of Pancharatriki worship because in this Kali Yuga, even without deity worship, everything can be perfectly performed simply through hearing, chanting, remembering, and worship of the lotus feet of the Lord. Sri Rupa Goswami states, Sri Vishnu Shravane Parikshit Abhavat Vaiyasiki Kirtane Prahlada Smarane Tat Angri Bhajane Lakshmi Prithu Pujane Akrurastva Abhivandane Kapipatir Dasye Tha Sakhe Arjunaha Sarvasvatma Nivedane Ballir Abhut Krishnaptir Esham Param. Parikshit Maharaj attained salvation simply by hearing, and Sukhdev Goswami attained salvation simply by chanting. Prahlad Maharaj attained salvation by remembering the Lord. The goddess of fortune, Lakshmi Devi, attained perfection by worshipping the Lord's lotus feet. Prithu Maharaj attained salvation by worshipping the deity of the Lord. Akrura attained salvation by offering prayers, Hanuman by rendering service, Arjuna by establishing friendship with the Lord, and Bali Maharaj by offering everything to the service of the Lord. All these great devotees served the Lord according to a particular process, but every one of them attained salvation and became eligible to return home back to Godhead. This is explained in Srimad Bhagavatam. I just need to really quickly check and see till what time am I supposed to read. Is it 5:30 or 6? So just give me a second here. Might have something there. Okay, so I need to read till 6 o'clock. Okay, I'll continue here. Sorry about that. It is therefore recommended that an initiated devotee follow the principles of Narad Pancharatra by worshipping the deity in the temple, especially for householder devotees who are opulent in material possessions. The path of deity worship is strongly recommended. An opulent householder devotee who does not engage his hard-earned money in the service of the Lord is called a miser. One should not engage paid brahmanas to worship the deity. If one does not personally worship the deity but engages paid servants instead, he is considered lazy and his worship of the deity is called artificial. An opulent householder can collect luxurious paraphernalia for deity worship, and consequently for householder devotees, the worship of the deity is compulsory. In our Krishna consciousness movement, there are brahmacharis, grihasthas, vanaprasthas, and sannyasis, but deity worship in the temple should be performed specially by the householders. The brahmacharis can go with the sannyasis to preach, and the vanaprasthas should prepare themselves for the next stage of renounced life, sannyas. Grihastha devotees, however, are generally engaged in material activities, and therefore, if they do not take to deity worship, their falling down is positively assured. Deity worship means following the rules and regulations precisely. That will keep one steady in devotional service. Generally, householders have children, and then the wives of the householder should be engaged in caring for the children, just as women acting as teachers care for the children in a nursery school. Grihastha devotees must adopt the Archana Vidhi, the deity or deity worship according to the suitable arrangements and directions given by the spiritual master. Regarding those unable to take to the deity worship in the temple, there is the following statement in the Agni Puran. Any householder devotee circumstantially unable to worship the deity must at least see the deity worship, and in this way he may achieve success also.
The special purpose of deity worship is to keep oneself always pure and clean. Grihastha devotees should be actual examples of cleanliness. Deity worship should be continued along with hearing and chanting. Therefore, every mantra is preceded by the word Namaha. In all the mantras, there are specific potencies of which the Grihastha devotees must take advantage. There are many mantras preceded by the word Namaha, but if one chants the holy name of the Lord, one can reach the platform of love of Godhead. One might ask, then what is the necessity of being initiated? The answer is that even though the chanting of the holy name is sufficient to enable one to progress in spiritual life to the standard of love of Godhead, one is nonetheless susceptible to contamination because of possessing a material body. Consequently, special stress is given to the Archana Vidhi. One should therefore regularly take advantage of both the Bhagavad process and the Pancharatriki process. Deity worship has two divisions, namely pure and mixed with fruitive activities. For one who is steady, deity worship is compulsory. Observing the various types of festivals such as Sri Janmashtami, Ramanavami, and Nrsimha Chaturdashi is also included in the process of deity worship. In other words, it's compulsory for householder devotees to observe these festivals. Now let us discuss the offenses in deity worship. The following are offenses. A, to enter the temple with shoes or being carried on a palanquin. B, not to observe the prescribed festivals. C, to avoid offering obeisances in front of the deity. D, to offer prayers in an unclean state, not having washed one's hands after eating. Just 1 second, there's a chat. I just need to check whether it's for me here. Okay. Okay, so the verse that we are reading is 7:5, and the verse is 23-24. That's a verse, a really big verse, and we are in the purport. So deity worship has two divisions. I read that. Observing the various types of festivals such as Sri Janmashtami, Ram Navami, and Nrsimha Chaturdashi is also included in the process of deity worship. In other words, it is compulsory for householder devotees to observe these festivals. Let us now discuss the offenses in deity worship. The following are offenses. A, to enter the temple with shoes or being carried on a palanquin. B, not to observe the prescribed festivals. C, to avoid offering obeisances in front of the deity. D, to offer prayers in an unclean state, not having washed one's hand after eating. I think I'd already read all that, but never mind. E, to offer obeisances with one hand. F, to circumambulate directly in front of the deity. G, to spread one's legs before the deity. H, to sit before the deity while holding one's ankles with one's hands. I, to lie down before the deity. J, to eat before the deity. K, to speak lies before the deity. L, to address someone loudly before the deity. M, to talk nonsense before the deity. N, to cry before the deity. O, to argue before the deity. P, to chastise someone before the deity. Q, to show someone favor before the deity. R, to use harsh words before the deity. S, to wear a woolen blanket before the deity. T, to blaspheme someone before the deity. U, to worship someone else before the deity. V, to use vulgar language before the deity. W, to pass air before the deity. X, to avoid very opulent worship of the deity, even though one is able to perform it. Y, to eat something not offered to the deity. Z, to avoid offering fresh fruits to the deity according to the season. A, to offer food to the deity which has already been used or from which has first been given to others. In other words, food should not be distributed to anyone else until it has been offered to the deity. BB, to sit with one's back towards the deity. CC, to offer obeisances to someone else in front of the deity. DD, not to chant proper prayers when offering obeisances to the spiritual master. EE, to praise oneself before the deity. And FF, to blaspheme the demigods. In the worship of the deity, these 32 offenses should be avoided. In the Varaha Purnam, the following offenses are mentioned. A, to eat in the house of a rich man. B, to enter the deity's room in the dark.
C, to worship the deity without following the regulative principles. D, to enter the temple without vibrating any sound. E, to collect food that has been seen by a dog. F, to break silence while offering worship to the deity. G, to go to the toilet during the time of worshiping the deity. H, to offer incense without offering flowers. I, to worship the deity with forbidden flowers. J, to begin worship without having washed one's teeth. K, to begin worship after sex. L, to touch a lamp, dead body, or a woman during her menstrual period, or to put on red or bluish color clothing, unwashed clothing, the clothing of others, or soiled clothing. Other offenses are to worship the deity after seeing a dead body, to pass air before the deity, to show anger before the deity, and to worship the deity just after returning from a crematorium. After eating, one should not worship the deity unless one has digested the food, nor should one touch the deity or engage in any deity worship after eating sunflower oil or hing. These are also offenses. In other places, the following offenses are listed. A, to be against the scriptural injunctions of the Vedic literature, or to disrespect within one's heart the Srimad Bhagavatam, while externally falsely accepting its principles. B, to introduce differing shastras. C, to chew pan and betel before the deity. D, to keep flowers for the worship on the leaf of a castor oil plant. E, to worship the deity in the afternoon. F, to sit on the altar or to sit on the floor to worship the deity without a seat. G, to touch the deity with the left hand while bathing the deity. H, to worship the deity with a stable or used flower. I, to spit while worshipping the deity. J, to advertise one's glory while worshipping the deity. K, to apply tilaka to one's forehead in a curved way. L, to enter the temple without having washed one's feet. M, to offer deity food cooked by an uninitiated person. N, to worship the deity and offer bhoga to the deity within the vision of an uninitiated person or non-Vaishnava. O, to offer worship to the deity without worshipping Vaikuntha deities like Ganesha. P, to worship the deity while perspiring. Q, to refuse offering to the deity. R, to take a vow or oath in the holy name of the Lord. If one commits any of the above offenses, one must read at least one chapter of Bhagavad Gita. This is confirmed in the Skanda Puran, Avanti Khanda. Similarly, there's another injunction stating that one who reads the 1,000 names of Vishnu can be released from all offenses. In the same Skanda Puran, Reva Khand, it is said that one who recites prayers to Tulasi or sows the Tulasi seed is also freed from all offenses. Similarly, one who worships the Shaligram Shila can also be relieved of offenses. In the Brahman Puran, it is said that one who worships Lord Vishnu, whose 4 hands bear a conch shell, disc, lotus flower, and club, can be relieved from the above offenses. In the Adi Varaha Puran, it is said that a worshipper who has committed offenses may fast for 1 day at the holy place known as Shokarava and then bathe in the Ganges. In the process of worshipping the deity, it's sometimes enjoined that one worship the deity within the mind. In the Padma Purana, Uttarakhand, it is said all persons can generally worship within the mind. The Gautamiya Tantra states, for a sannyasi who has no home, worship of the deity within the mind is recommended. In the Narad Pancharatra, it is stated that by Lord Narayan, that worship of the deity within the mind is called Manasa Puja. One can become free from 4 miseries by this method. Sometimes worship from the mind can be independently executed. According to the instruction of Avirhotra Muni, one of the Nava Yogindras, as mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam, one may worship the deity by chanting all the mantras. 8 kinds of deities mentioned in the Shastra, and the mental deity is one of them. 8 kinds of deities are mentioned in the Shastra, and the mental deity is one of them. In this regard, the following description is given in the Brahma Vaivarta Puran. In the city of Pratishtanapura, long ago, there resided a Brahmana who was very poverty-stricken, but innocent and not dissatisfied. One day he heard a discourse in an assembly of Brahmanas concerning how to worship the deity in the temple. In that meeting, he also heard that the deity may be worshipped within the mind. After this incident, the Brahmana, having bathed in the Godavari river, began mentally worshipping the deity. He would wash the temple within his mind, and then in his imagination, he would bring water from all sacred rivers in golden and silver water pots. He collected all kinds of valuable paraphernalia for worship, and he worshipped the deity very gorgeously, beginning from bathing the deity and ending with offering arti. Thus, he felt great happiness. After many years had passed in this way, one day, within his mind, he cooked nice sweet rice with ghee to worship the deity. He placed the sweet rice on a golden dish and offered it to the Lord. But he felt that the sweet rice was very hot, and therefore he touched it with his finger. He immediately felt that his finger had been burned by the hot, sweet rice, and thus he began to lament. While the Brahmana was in pain, Lord Vishnu in Vaikuntha began smiling, and the goddess of fortune inquired from the Lord why he was smiling. Lord Vishnu then ordered his associates to bring the Brahmana to Vaikuntha. Thus, the Brahmana attained the liberation of Samipya, the facility of living near the Supreme Personality of Godhead. 6. Vandanam. Although prayers are a part of deity worship, they may be considered separately like the other items, such as hearing and chanting, and therefore separate statements are given herewith. The Lord has unlimited transcendental qualities and opulences, and one who feels influenced by the Lord's qualities in various activities offers prayers to the Lord. In this way, he becomes successful. In this connection, the following are some of the offenses to be avoided: to offer obeisances on one hand, B, to offer obeisances with one's body covered, C, to show one's back to the deity, D, to offer obeisances on the left side of the deity, E, to offer obeisances very near the deity. 7. Dasyam. There is this following statement in regard to assisting the Lord as a servant. After many, many thousands of births, when one continues to understand that he is an eternal servant of Krishna, one can deliver others from this universe. If one simply continues to think that he is an eternal servant of Krishna, even without performing any other process of devotional service, he can attain full success. For simply by this feeling, one can perform all 9 processes of devotional service. Sakhyam. In regard to worshipping the Lord as a friend, the Agastya Samhita states that a devotee engaged in performing devotional service by Shravanam and Kirtanam sometimes wants to see the Lord personally, and for this purpose he resides in the temple. Elsewhere, there is this statement, "O my Lord, Supreme Personality and Eternal Friend, although you are full of bliss and knowledge, you have become the friend of the residents of Vrindavana. How fortunate are these devotees." In this statement, the word friend is specifically used to indicate intense love. Friendship, therefore, is better than servitude. In the stage above Dasya Rasa, the devotee accepts the Supreme Personality of Godhead as a friend. This is not at all astonishing, for when a devotee is pure in the heart, the opulence of his worship of the deity diminishes as spontaneous love for the personality of Godhead is manifested. In this regard, Sridhar Swami mentions Sridham Vipra, who expressed to himself his feelings of obligation, thinking, life after life, I may be connected with Krishna in this friendly attitude. Number 9, Atmanivedanam. The word Atmanivedanam refers to the stage at which one who has no motive other than to serve the Lord surrenders everything to the Lord and performs his activities only to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such a devotee is like a cow that is cared for by its master. When cared for by its master, a cow is not in anxiety over its maintenance. Such a cow is always devoted to his master, and it never acts independently, but only for the master's benefit. Some devotees, therefore, consider dedication of the body to the Lord to be Atmanivedanam, and as stated in the book known as Bhakti Vivek, sometimes dedication of the soul to the Lord is called Atmanivedanam. The best example of Atmanivedanam are found in Bali Maharaj and Ambrish Maharaj. Atmanivedanam is also sometimes found in the behavior of Rukmani Devi at Dwarka. Text number 25. After hearing these words of devotional service from the mouth of his son Prahlad, Hiranyakashipu was extremely angry. His lips trembling, he spoke as follows to Shanda, the son of his guru Shukracharya. Text 26. O unqualified, most heinous son of a Brahmana, you have disobeyed my order and taken shelter of the party of my enemies. You have taught this poor boy about devotional service. What is this nonsense? Purport. In this verse, the word asaram, meaning having no substance, is significant. For a demon, there is no substance in the process of devotional service. But to a devotee,
Devotional service is the only essential factor in life. Since Hiranyakashipu did not like devotional service, the essence of life, he chastised Prahlad Maharaj's teachers with harsh words. Text 27. In due course of time, various types of diseases are manifest in those who are sinful. Similarly, in this world, there are many deceptive friends in false garbs. But eventually, because of their false behavior, their actual enmity becomes manifest. Being anxious about the education of his boy Prahlad, Hiranyakashipu was very much dissatisfied. When Prahlad began teaching about devotional service, Hiranyakashipu immediately regarded the teachers as his enemies in the garb of friends. In this regard, in this verse, the words roga pata kinam, eva, refer to disease, which is the most sinful and miserable of the conditions of the material life. Janma mrityu jara vyadhi. Disease is the symptom of the body of a sinful person. The Smriti Shastra say, Brahma hakshaya rogi syat surapa swadadantakaha swarna hari tu punaki duscharma guru talpagaha. Murderers or brahmanas are later afflicted by tuberculosis, drunkards becoming toothless, those who have stolen gold are afflicted by diseased nails, and sinful men who have sexual connections with the wife of a superior are afflicted by leprosy and similar skin diseases. Text 28. The son of Shukracharya, Hiranyakashipu's spiritual master, said, O enemy of King Indra, O king, whatever your son Prahlad has said was not taught to him by me or anyone else. His spontaneous devotional service has naturally developed in him. Therefore, please give up your anger and do not unnecessarily accuse me. It is not good to insult a Brahmana in this way. Text 29. Sri Narada Muni continued, when Hiranyakashipu received this reply from the teacher, he again addressed his son Prahlad. Hiranyakashipu said, You rascal, most fallen of our family, if you have not received this education from your teachers, where have you gotten it? Purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that devotional service is actually Bhadra Sati, not Abhadra Asati. In other words, knowledge of devotional service can be neither inauspicious nor contrary to etiquette. To learn devotional service is the duty of everyone. Therefore, the spontaneous education of Prahlad Maharaj is supported as auspicious and perfect. Text number 30. Prahlad Maharaj replied, because of their uncontrolled senses, persons too addicted to materialistic life make progress towards hellish conditions and repeatedly chew that which has already been chewed, the punar charvata charvananam. Their inclinations toward Krishna are never aroused either by the instruction of others or by their own efforts or by a combination of both. In this verse, the word Matirna Krishna refer to devotional service rendered to Krishna. So-called politicians, erudite scholars, and philosophers who read Bhagavad Gita try to twist some meaning from it to suit their material purposes, but their misunderstanding of Krishna will not yield them any profit. Because such politicians, philosophers, and scholars are interested in using Bhagavad Gita as a vehicle for adjusting things materially, for them, constant thought of Krishna or Krishna consciousness is impossible. Matirna Krishna, as stated in Bhagavad Gita 18.55, Bhaktya Mam Abhinanati. Only through devotional service can one understand Krishna as he is. The so-called politicians and scholars think of Krishna as fictitious. The politician says that his Krishna is different from the Krishna depicted in the Bhagavad Gita. Even though he accepts Krishna and Ram as the supreme, he thinks of Ram and Krishna as impersonal because he has no idea of service to Krishna. Thus, his only business is punash charvita charvananam, chewing the chewed again and again. The aim of such politicians and academic scholars is to enjoy this material world with their bodily senses. Therefore, it is clearly stated here that those who are grihavrata, whose only aim is to live comfortably within the body in the material world, cannot understand Krishna. The two expressions grihavrata and charvita charvananam indicate that a materialistic person tries to enjoy sense gratification in different bodily forms, life after life, but is still unsatisfied.
In the name of personalism, this ism or that ism, such persons always remain attached to the materialistic way of life, as stated in Bhagavad Gita 244. भोगैश्वर्य प्रसक्तानां तयापहृतचेतसां व्यवयासात्मिका बुद्धि समाधौ न विधीयते. In the minds of those who are too attached to sense gratification, sense enjoyment, and material opulence, and who are bewildered by such things, the resolute determination for devotional service to the Supreme Lord does not take place. Those who are attached to material enjoyment cannot be fixed in devotional service to the Lord. They cannot understand Bhagwan, Krishna, or his instruction, Bhagavad Gita. Adanta gobhir vishitam tamishram. Their path actually leads towards hellish life. As confirmed by Rishabdeva, Mahat Sevam Dwaram Ahur Vimukte, one must try to understand Krishna by serving a devotee. The word Mahat refers to a devotee. Mahatmanastu mam partha devim prakritim ashritaha bhajanti ananya manaso yatma bhutadim avyayam. O son of Pritha, those who are not deluded, the great souls, are under the protection of the divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. Bhagavad Gita 9.13. A Mahatma is one who is constantly engaged in devotional service 24 hours a day. As explained in the following verses, unless one adheres to such a great personality, one cannot understand Krishna. Hiranyakashipu wanted to know where Prahlad has gotten this Krishna consciousness. Who had taught him? Prahlad sarcastically replied, "My dear father, persons like you never understand Krishna. One can understand Krishna only by serving a Mahat, a great soul. Those who try to adjust material conditions are said to be chewing the chewed. No one has been able to adjust material conditions, but life after life, generation after generation, people try and repeatedly fail. Unless one is properly trained by a Mahat, a Mahatma, or unalloyed devotee of the Lord, there is no possibility of one's understanding Krishna and his devotional service." Text 31. Persons who are strongly entrapped by the consciousness of enjoying material life and who have therefore accepted as their leader or guru a similar blind man attached to external sense objects cannot understand that the goal of life is to return home, back to Godhead, and engage in the service of Lord Vishnu. As blind men guided by another blind man miss the right path and fall into the ditch, materially attached men led by another materially attached man are bound by the ropes of fruitive labor, which are made of very strong cords, and they continue again and again in materialistic life, suffering the threefold miseries. Purport. Since there must always be a difference of opinion between demons and devotees, Hiranyakashipu, when criticized by his son Prahlad Maharaj, should not have been surprised that Prahlad Maharaj differed from his way of life. Nonetheless, Hiranyakashipu was extremely angry and wanted to rebuke his son for deriding his teacher or spiritual master, who had been born in the Brahmana family of the great Acharya Shukracharya. The word Shukra means semen, and Acharya refers to a teacher or a guru. Hereditary gurus or spiritual masters have been accepted everywhere since time immemorial, but Prahlad Maharaj declined to accept such a seminal guru or take instruction from him. An actual guru is Srotriya, one who has heard or received perfect knowledge through parampara, this disciplic succession. Therefore, Prahlad Maharaj did not recognize the seminal spiritual master. Such spiritual masters are not at all interested in Vishnu. Indeed, they are hopeful of material success. Bahir artha maninaha. The word bahi means external, artha means interest, and manina means taking very seriously. The word bahi, generally speaking, practically everyone is unaware of the spiritual world. The knowledge of the materialist is restricted within the 4 billion mile limit of this material world, which is in the dark portion of the creation. They do not know that beyond the material world is the spiritual world. Unless one is a devotee of the Lord, one cannot understand the existence of the spiritual world. Gurus, teachers who are simply interested in this material world are described in this word as andha, blind. Such blind men may lead many other blind followers without true knowledge of material conditions. But they are not accepted by devotees like Prahlad Maharaj. Such blind teachers, being interested in the external material world, are always bound by the strong ropes of material nature. Text 32. Unless they spear upon their bodies the dust of the lotus feet of a Vaishnava, completely freed from material contamination, persons very much inclined towards materialistic life cannot be attached to the lotus feet of the Lord, who is glorified for his uncommon activities. Only by becoming Krishna conscious and taking shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord in this way can one be freed from material contamination. Becoming Krishna conscious brings about anartha apagamaha, the disappearance of all anarthas, the miserable conditions we have unnecessarily accepted. The material body is the basic principle of these unwanted miserable conditions. This entire Vedic civilization is meant to relieve one from these unwanted miseries. But persons bound by the laws of nature do not know the destination of life. As described in the previous verse, Isha Tantriyam Urudamni Baddaha. They are conditioned by three strong modes of material nature. The education that keeps the conditioned soul bound life after life is called materialistic education. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has explained that materialistic education expands the influence of Maya. Such an education induces the conditioned soul to be increasingly attracted to materialistic life and to stray further and further away from liberation from unwanted miseries. One may ask, why highly educated persons do not take to Krishna consciousness? The reason is explained in this verse. Unless one takes shelter of a bona fide, fully Krishna conscious spiritual master, there is no chance of understanding Krishna. The educators, scholars, and big political leaders, worshipped by millions of people, cannot understand the goal of life and take to Krishna consciousness, for they have not accepted a bona fide spiritual master and the Vedas. Therefore, in the Mundak Upanishad 3.2.3, it is said, Nayam Atma Pravachanena Labhyo na Medhaya na Bahuna Srutena. One cannot become self-realized simply by having an academic education, by presenting lectures in an erudite way, Pravachanena Labhya, or by being an intelligent scientist who discovers many wonderful things. One cannot understand Krishna unless one is graced by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Only one who has surrendered to a pure devotee of Krishna and taken the dust of his lotus feet can understand Krishna. One must first understand how to get out of the clutches of Maya, the only means to become Krishna conscious. And to become Krishna conscious, very easily, one must take shelter of a realized soul, a Mahat or Mahatma, whose only interest is to engage in the service of the Supreme Lord. As the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 9:13, Mahatma nastu mam partha devim prakrtim ashritaha bhajantyananya manaso gyatma bhutadim avyayam. O son of Pritha, those who are not deluded, the great souls, are under the protection of the divine nature. They're fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. Therefore, to end the unwanted miseries of life, one must become a devotee. Yasyasti bhaktir bhagavatya kinchana sarve gunas tatra samasate suraha. One who has unflinching devotional faith in Krishna consistently manifests all the good qualities of Krishna and the demigods. Bhagavatam 5:18-12. Yasya deve para bhaktir yatha deve tatha guru tasyete katita hiyartha prakashante mahatmanaha. Only unto those great souls who have explicit faith in both the Lord and the spiritual master are all the imports of Vedic knowledge automatically revealed. Shvet Ashvatar Upanishad 6.23. Yam evesha vrinute tena labhyas tasyesha atma vivrinute tanum swam. The Lord is obtained only by one whom he himself chooses. To such a person he manifests his own form. Mundaka Upanishad 3.2.3. These are Vedic injunctions. One must take shelter of a self-realized spiritual master, not a materially educated scholar or politician. One must take shelter of a nishkinchana, a person engaged in devotional service and free from material contamination. That is the way to return home back to Godhead. So with this, we will bring our reading to a conclusion today because it's past 6 o'clock. It was supposed to go until 6 only.
Joy, thank you. Hare Krishna.
You're welcome. So I'll take
Hare
each of you, those who are watching us on Facebook, YouTube, and those who are here on the Zoom call. Vanchukalpatarubhyascha
Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhuvevacha Itanam bhavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namaha.
Go Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Give me a Hari Bol. Before you call it a day, unmute yourself. Let's see how you sound. Hari Bol. Hari Hari. Okay, so see you again tomorrow.